LCS social media content is in the gutter right now. I wish I was being sarcastic or hyperbolic, but I'm not. And I'm not just saying words either. I've got the numbers to back it up. Some context. In 2018, I started tracking all of the LCS social media data for all of the teams. Why? Because I just wanted to see how we were going to grow, because I was all bought in on Optic coming into the LCS and it being this larger in life thing, and showing people that, yeah, the Optic came in and the green wall effect was here and we grew the fan base, and well, much like everything else in the spreadsheet, it ended up being tracking our demise, or not demise, but like the downfall of social media on the League of Legends front. I'm not going to go into all of the data. If you want to see the raw breakout, it is in the description down below. I'll provide a shareable Dropbox link to my file. Please be sure to leave a like on your way down, though. It really does help out the video, especially whenever you put a lot of time into the data and effort for this. This video will just highlight some of the broader points here. First and foremost is that our team's growing. We know the LCS is kind of shrinking, but our team's doing well outside of League of Legends. Your top organizations are still gaining followers on newer platforms, on legacy platforms like Twitter. Some might be a little bit more stagnant than others, but the notable growth one is TikTok. Organization TikTok has grown like tenfold, 20, I don't even know the exact, I'll put the percentage up here for you, but it's a lot. And this was my big call out back in 2020 whenever I started refreshing this, and 2021, was that nobody's doing TikTok. And it was like, why would you not? It took them 2 years, but eventually they got there, and that's good because it's the most current social media platform that everybody and their mother is using. Some people might not, but then you now have YouTube Shorts and Instagram Shorts, which are all relevant because of trends that happen on TikTok. TikTok starts it, and then other platforms follow. So it's really important for orgs to be on there to understand socials. Now, is any of that going to League of Legends? A little bit. But the majority of it is Valorant and other games. It's ultimately not, like, of the 10 LCS orgs, the amount of TikTok content that they're putting out as a percentage of their total content is really not that much. And I can speak to that. Yeah, as somebody who does almost all League of Legends content, there's only so much you can do on the platform without it being like reactionary world stuff, etc., stuff like that. And even then, that doesn't get the same amount of viewership as games like Valorant and others do. It just, I don't know, not as trendy. It just is what it is. The second question then becomes, well, what about the players? When we were getting this 500,000 per a regular day of LCS viewership, was that on the back of incredibly popular players? And yes, the year-over-year trend clearly shows that players now are much less popular than they were just a few years ago. This graph here is taking the total number of followers amongst the 5 starting players on every LCS team. And yes, that means that we are just down horrendous compared to what we were. Now, granted, a lot of that was focused on some of the old TSM members. If you focus on just Bjergsen, Doublelift, Wild Turtle, the only big 3 remaining from that group, this is what their social media following is relative to everybody else. There are some players that have grown, specifically Cloud9 has had a notable step up in some of their players, but it's not at the scale that you would think. You would think you have almost 100,000 people watching the LCS for playoffs and for some of these more popular times, yet some of the most notable players in the LCS, even by modern standards, don't even hit that. So it's like you're not converting and you're not getting that attention and traction on social media. Realistically, whenever LCS game day is on, social media should be popping off if there were more people just genuinely interested in the players and the storylines and just everything else, but it's quiet. Take last night, for example. Aaron Rodgers, biggest storyline of our time, coming to New York to play for the Jets, starting on the anniversary of 9/11, running out carrying a flag. It was a moment that was talked about all over social media for 20 minutes until he blew out his Achilles, and now he's done for the rest of the season. But the point is that, like, when you go on social media during football season, whether it's players, whether it's personalities, doesn't matter. Like, social media is part of the fun when it comes to these live events. It's in the nature of being social. With LCS, it doesn't feel like you're missing all that much. I mean, there are some moments where like people pop off in the extremes, but for the most part, like, it feels like social media is just a little bit more tame. And I think honestly that's a reflection of these player amounts. People aren't following the players as much. The players don't have these interesting storylines. They aren't out there as much. We'll get to content in a second, but it's like, I don't know, there's just not as much chatter as you would think that there would be. And the player's social media following clearly indicates that as well. It's just the trend in general. The biggest red flag and the final part that I'm going to focus on is, even though these players' social media followings are dropping, that's still a pretty significant amount of people that follow them, right? So realistically, you should be able to convert that into viewership on YouTube content, which has been the primary content platform within League of Legends and esports as a whole outside of the games themselves for a decade now. And content in regards to Valorant and other games is popping off consistently. So how's LCS YouTube viewership doing? Oh God. All right, first let's explain some anomalies. The EG one, yes, they're putting out a ton of content, but that's like minute and 30-second videos that are like sponsored HP content that it's just not, it's not enjoyable content whatsoever. So that's abysmal. The most popular video of the split goes to a surprising contender, and that is Dignitas, and that's because they hired Sylvix Productions to do their video. And I know Sylvix and them hyped it up a lot on social media, and if you guys are seeing this, take what I'm about to say as constructive criticism. Virality is great, and it's awesome to brag about how much viewership that video got, but when you look at the surrounding viewership around it, not great. To me, if you hit a viral video, part of the aftermath of that is trying to capitalize on that and working on the formula that works and putting out additional content that should then see elevated levels of viewership, right? Because you went viral, more people are gonna start following you because of that. You get more notoriety, and no, viewership dropped right back down to the median. And it's like, damn, really? 100 Thieves notably stepped up their content a lot this year. Part of that due to the fact that they got the Subway partnership, and 100 Thieves was not willing to put out content if it didn't have a partner attached to it. Having Double Lift and crew just be able to sit down and talk about the games, coming from a biased 100 Thieves fan, was pretty nice, and I hope that series continues. But you could definitely tell most of the team wasn't fully comfortable on camera as much. Like, the conversation was led by the producer whenever Double Lift wasn't there or wasn't taking charge a little bit more than most, because the rest just aren't used to being on camera and just aren't used to being that upfront personality that's needed to drive content. And honestly, that's just a theme that carries throughout the rest of the series here. Like, Cloud9's viewership, really, that's not all that much. I mean, it's good. I don't want to condemn them and say oh, your viewership is piss poor, so stop making content. No, everybody should keep making content. I don't want to see the number of videos that are shown here drop at all. What I want to see is better content being made. And what do I mean by better content? That means, one, it needs to be more engaging. Documentary series are only interesting if people care about the players, and as we just noted by the fact that players' social media followings are dropping, your documentaries are going to drop even more because people just aren't connecting with these players as much. Second, as NRG has proven, and I want to shout them out quickly. I randomly decided to add NRG to this list back in 2021 before they were even in the LCS, because at the time Optic joined NRG. I was obsessed with the group, and I assumed that they would be getting back into the LCS at some point. And boy, am I glad that I did, because look at their various YouTube channels and how much they've grown in just 2 years. Their YouTube viewership on their league stuff is already doing decent, and some of their concepts are some of the most, not even innovative, it's just it's unique for league content, something that we haven't seen on the org side in a long time. And their most recent TikTok with contracts was, so they get content. And the fact that they've shown this growth in other games, I'm really curious to see a year to 2 years from now, can they become the most watched league organization in terms of content as well? Because as of right now, I would put all of my money in them. Cloud9 and Team Liquid separated out their channels, same with 100 Thieves, and you're not seeing that same level of growth, or at least that mass attraction that you're seeing with other games and other platforms. To wrap up the YouTube viewership portion of this, I will just say teams aren't fully to blame, as is noted by the fact that Dignitas hired Sylvix Productions. I know that they know what good content is and fun and entertaining stuff is. I really do think there's a heavy reliance on the players getting more understanding of social media and content. We are not in a world anymore where just playing is enough. If you're fine with making minimum wage salary, then fine, sure, coast on that and be whatever. But if you want to actively grow your salary, if you're a player, you should be invested way more in content. You should be doing stuff on TikTok. You should be I shouldn't even have to explain this. These guys should be should be on social media already as is, just by the nature of being 18 to 24 years old. So if you're on social media, like, you should also be focused on creating content and doing things that will increase your paycheck, because becoming a more popular player beyond just League of Legends is incredibly important to boosting your pay. Take, for example, Cutie Cinderella was on the broadcast, what, twice this year or 3 times? How has no LCS player reached out to Cutie Cinderella, or at least, like, it hasn't, like, publicly been shown that they reached out? Like, reach out to Cutie Cinderella to try and do, like, teach her League of Legends, or do something with these massive influencers that are coming on the broadcast that can help take your name from just a League of Legends name to something way bigger. Like, use them to their fullest. It just seems like League players themselves do not have a good fundamental understanding of why social media is important, and the teams get it because they're clearly making it work in other games that are a little bit more popular. So with League that's less popular in North America, it's going to take more effort, and if you don't have people that are naturally inclined to it, well, we end up in the situation that we're in now. My recommendation to the teams, as I've said for a long period of time now, get content creators that are outside of pro players that can help you direct the narrative of fans and turn, like, 100 Thieves content or Cloud9 content into, like, Cloud9 fan content. It was something that I really enjoyed with, like, Optic back when, was like, you had, like, the mix of players, but you were also following Hitch's storyline of, like, fan becoming part of the org type thing. Like, if you can find a personality that matches in with your org, take that chance. But the one area of League content that is not struggling, podcasts. Podcasts are absolutely crushing it. Summoner's Insight with Thorin and Monte Cristo is the leading podcast at the moment. All of them in general just seem to be doing quite well. The Caster's Couch with, like, Ovally, Flowers, and Raz is not doing bad. I included anything on here that just touches the LCS in any capacity. Like, if they've talked about it at all, even if all episodes don't, then it is what it is. And of note, these are all summer. But yeah, that's where your personalities lie. Those are the people that clearly understand social media, that understand that, like, the landscape right now is talking to things, is like the reactions of being out there and being in front of people way more consistently. We get pros on screen, what, an hour a day, 2 days a week, or 3 days a week? Whereas these content creators are, like, constantly in people's faces, constantly streaming, getting their opinions out there, their thoughts out there. Everything is, like, League players just got to understand that. The same method that I'm trying to take with my content of, like, you blitzkrieg and get your name out there as much as possible, and then meet people, collaborate on content, and try and go from there. But I don't know. The numbers don't lie. We're not in a good spot, and we got a long way to go before we ever, like, hit the stages where other esports are. I mean, COD Twitter has, like, half the following on the team side, but the engagement is just absurd relative to League stuff. So I don't know. Winning ain't gonna solve anything. We ain't winning worlds anytime soon. So how about we focus on our social media content and bumping up some of those numbers. That's it for me. Be sure to drop a like on this video if you enjoyed some of the numbers, and leave a comment down below on your favorite statistic of the group if you're checking out the full document. Otherwise, I will catch you on the next video. Adios.